It's crazy to think that Insomniac Games could have potentially given us a Resistance 4. And I am a fan of the Resistance franchise, and it's kind of unfortunate to see what has happened because depending on who you talk to, if you talk to a Resistance fan, they're going to say it's unfortunate that they've become the Marvel game studio. And if you talk to Marvel game fans, they're gonna be like, "Oh, it's great that Insomniac Games stopped making stopped working on their older franchises and things, and now they're actually working on something that is halfway decent." And I kind of hate that that is kind of where you'll find things, and I think you'll find more people in the camp of, "Yay, Insomniac is better off making superhero games," because personally for me, I don't really fall in that camp. In fact, I don't like what's become of them because of that. But I guess before we kind of get into too many details, let's actually talk about the news surrounding Resistance 4 and how this even came to be. This whole discussion, this whole video, what actually happened. So, what's happening is that Insomniac Games founder, the outgoing president of the company, Ted Price, is sitting down for interviews because he's retiring after 30 years of helming Insomniac Games. Keeping in mind that this is the same Insomniac that worked all throughout the PS1 era to work on the Spyro games, that worked through the PS3, PS2 era to create the Ratchet and Clank series that we know and love, that in the PS3 era didn't just make the Resistance franchise, but also worked on games, unfortunately, like Fuse. We also got, that was in partnership with EA. We also got stuff like Sunset Overdrive, which I completely forgot they worked on. And then there's also something of the Deep. I can't remember. This was in partnership with GameStop, where Insomniac Games tried to make like a small child in a giant scary world, small innocent child in giant scary world type of game, except that it's a daughter that creates a submarine to look for a fisherman father who's probably dead and drunk at the bottom of the sea, but I digress. Anyway, so yeah, with all that being said, he is retiring after 30 years after helming the studio, and so he's kind of going around and doing the sort of media landscape and doing interviews, to which he was at Kind of Funny Games. I didn't actually watch this video because I do watch their content, the Kind of Funny Games content, but I don't think I saw the video where they, where Greg interviews Ted Price about his whole situation, and effectively asks the question if there was a favorite game of his that was pitched but never made, to which he gave his answer, "Yeah, I'll share one, Resistance 4. And I'm at least happy to hear that Ted was kind of on the side of, hey, Resistance 4. Why the hell not? That seems like a pretty good idea. But yeah, it's just unfortunate to see that that is kind of the case. So I think this paragraph does actually a better job of me explaining it myself, of like what Resistance is, but it's a series of FPSs that Insomniac developed following their work on Ratchet and Clank in an alternate history where aliens invade the UK in 1951, and that's where the three... Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there. Resistance 1 and 2 take place in the UK. 1 definitely takes place in the UK. 2 I can't remember, but 3 takes place in America. So I just want to point that out. But 1951, I don't know if that year is accurate. I need to go back because I do have the entire trilogy upstairs. So there's like a box that you could buy of like all 3 games in a single go, and was called Resistance the Trilogy. Highly recommend looking it up if you are interested and have a PS3 lying around and you want to play the game. I feel like I cannot recommend Resistance highly enough. And if you've got like a couple of PS3s together and multiple controllers, you could have a straight up 8-man LAN party going on in those deathmatch maps and things like that. Like, you could be having a very, very good time. Because again, Resistance was an extremely fun game. But yeah, before I get into more details around, the gameplay of the Resistance franchise, I specifically wanted to talk more so about what the current trajectory of Insomniac Games is, and where the seas parted and ultimately caused the butterfly effect to change the timeline altogether of where Insomniac Games is now versus if they had made Resistance 4. So, Resistance 4 gets denied, and then we get games like, as I said before, stuff like Fuse with EA. We also got stuff like Sunset Overdrive with partnership with Xbox/Microsoft Studios. Song of the Deep, that's the one right there that was partnered with Game Trust. That was from GameStop, if I remember correctly, And then we got the reimagining of Ratchet & Clank before we ended up getting Marvel's Spider-Man, which was highly rated, appreciated, whatever have you, but also was starting a trend that I feel like people might not necessarily be a fan of. Because after we got Marvel's Spider-Man, we got Marvel's... so we did get Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. I want to definitely make that absolutely clear. We did get that game as well, and I was very close to saying ripped apart because Ratchet & Clank has been known to make various types of bum jokes throughout the franchise. So I just wanted to say that Ratchet & Clank Ripped Apart does sound like ripped a fart, even though that's clearly a joke that was made by Yahtzee from formerly Zero Punctuation, now working on Fully Ramblematic. Yes. Anyway, moving on. Yes. So after that, we did get Spider-Man Miles Morales, which was a smaller Spider-Man game. And then we got a proper sequel to Marvel's Spider-Man, aka Marvel's Spider-Man 2. And we are going to be getting at some point this year, apparently, because I don't believe anything more has been announced or shown after its original showing, but that's Marvel's Wolverine. So look forward to that, I guess. But again, like I said, if you've noticed something, aside from Ratchet & Clank Ripped Apart, we have been getting pretty much just Marvel superhero games. And oh yeah, keeping in mind, we also did get a remastering of Marvel's Spider-Man. So the PS4 game was then remastered for PS5, I think, at some point. I can't remember, but that was part of the, I think, deluxe edition of Marvel Spider-Man 2. Again, I digress. But, again, like I said, we're getting a bunch of Marvel superhero games, and I'm really not a fan of it, because looking back at the history of Insomniac, I feel like there's a lot of games I wish we did get. Because the thing is that, and I don't know where this falls, I wish we could have gotten more games like Resistance 4, because I feel like shooters have gotten so much more staler since Resistance was actually more of a boomer shooter. Like if Doom could make a return in 2016, then I feel like Resistance could learn from Doom and actually be able to, implement things that Doom 2016 did and be able to make a proper return. Because Resistance 3 had a lot of really fun gameplay elements. So this is actually some gameplay by AF Guides HD. I mean, they've got like 1.6 million subscribers, but yeah, I'll just leave their whole thing here. Resistance is really fun. Like, if you go through and look at the weapons, for example, so you've got stuff like the Deadeye, which is the sniper rifle that can shoot from really far away. On the top right here, you've got the Auger that can pop up a shield and shoot through walls because you can aim at enemies through walls. You've got stuff like at the top, the Bullseye, which is an assault rifle that you could shoot at enemies. And you can tag enemies so that no matter what direction you're facing, the bullets will immediately attack the tagged enemy. You've got the Magnum down here. It's a basic pistol that, plants its bullets into your enemies, and then its alternate fire as it explodes. Oh yeah, like all of these weapons have like a main fire and an alternate fire. Like the shotgun here, its main fire is it's a shotgun, but its alternate fire is that it spits fire. Holy crap, like that's really cool. You've got the marksman, you've got, there's again, these are only a handful of the weapons in the game, and it's a mixture of both human weapons and chimera weapons, chimera being the big villains of the Resistance franchise. And the fact that Resistance is all about an infectious virus that is plaguing humanity, and people are turning into the chimera, and that the chimera are almost like this hive mind, pretty much, that are attacking humanity and killing people and kind of basically destroying the world. And man, there are some just absolutely massively epic boss fights. Oh my god, there was I think around here there is a massive boss fight here. Like if I just go down the Widowmaker. Here we go. Here's where the Widowmaker boss fight happens, in this area. So if he just, yeah, that thing right there, like, it is just cool to see these giant monstrosities all be part of a similar race of creature. And I feel like a lot of, you know, because they are technically an alien virus that affects people, you could get quite creative with the character and monster design. I feel like I'm just giving a Resistance 3 like review right now, because honestly, like I said, weapons are great. There's a lot of variety, there's a lot of creativity to them, there's a lot of creativity to the actual enemies and monsters. You play on the hardest difficulty, you're gonna have a fun time. The single player story is actually pretty good. I had a lot of fun when I played Resistance 3 a couple of years ago, and keeping in mind Resistance 3 did come out in what was it, 2011? Yeah, 2011. So I would argue that even in 2023, this game still, at least for me, held up. It looked very good. It played very well. So, like I said, I just have nothing but positive things to say about it. But that also then makes me step back and wonder, how has Insomniac been going so far? Sure, Marvel's Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, Miles Morales, and I would expect Wolverine to do quite well from the perspective of, like, you know, scores with critics and things like that. But then I sat back and thought about it for a moment and looked at everything and wondered, what if? What does that alternative timeline looks like, where we do get a Resistance 4, where we do get stuff like, I don't know, a sequel to Sunset Overdrive? Because I don't know if it was ever confirmed, but while Insomniac worked with Microsoft Studios to create Sunset Overdrive, I think the actual IP rights still are, or at least I think they might be with Insomniac, but I'm just not 100% on that. That's where I'm a little bit iffy, because if they did, man, imagine seeing a Sunset Overdrive remastered on PlayStation, for example, seeing a sequel to Song of the Deep, because I know people like that. Or how about, rather than just leaving Ratchet and Clank rift apart as being the last game that came out back in what, 2020, I want to say? Ratchet and Clank, wait, let me just have a quick look. Wait, no, this is just the first game. Ratchet and Clank 2021. Imagine that by now we could have probably gotten at least another Ratchet and Clank game. The granted, I suppose, yeah, again, the PS4, you know, what they tried to do there with the reimagining wasn't that great, but, Rift, I'm so close to saying Ripped Apart and Rift Apart that it just isn't really that. Anyway, let's just leave that aside. So, I'm just curious as to where we are and where we could have potentially been. So I really do look at all of this and think to myself, man, imagine what could have been in an alternative universe where we could have gotten a Resistance 4 of all things. But with all that being said, however, let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel. I'm aiming for 500 subs by the end of the year. And with all that being said, I do upload every day. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.